Missy and Little Kim, and yeah, Missy. Yeah, there's a Missy, Lil Kim, and Lauryn Hill.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just a tenderness in how she draws that reminds me of like if you went to art school in New York. I went to this art school called LaGuardia, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
LaGuardia and Cooper Union kids like all had this very particular way of drawing
Right.
that I really loved. I mean, I didn't do art even though I went to art school, but if I did draw, that would have been like how they drew. And I just really felt like placing her in this room that felt like if you know that language, you know, like, oh, this is like a way that a New Yorker draws, a New York
Wow.
kid draws. And so it's just sort of looking at that. And then there's a Paul Anthony Smith interlude, and he's sort of like, he's Jamaican but lives in New York, and the West Indian culture and hip hop, Biggie, like it was formed by like a Jamaican who Kool Herc, who went up from Jamaica to the South Bronx. Biggie's mom was Jamaican, so there's this influence of Jamaican culture in what we understood a West Indian culture in like New York especially. And so there's some scenes of carnival of photographs in there that I really thought was beautiful. There's a Teresa Farrell, who's like one of my best friends. We make a lot of art together. And she just had like this punk rock moment. But there was this period in the 90s where like the two most rebellious culture was like punk rock and hip hop. And they were just like both like, it just showed that you were like counterculture if you were like heavy into punk rock.
Right.
Like Tatted Up, like punks
Right.
were like, and just like, and also like there was always like large conversations between, like I think one of the biggest breakout moments was like when Aerosmith and Run DMC did they song together. There's always been like a kind of moment of rock, punk rock, hip hop. So there's a Teresa Farrell interlude that's in there because I just thought like, oh yeah, this is like, this is this, and then there's a Jasmine interlude where she's just like, which is kind of what it's not an interlude, but that's a whole other story, and I don't know if we have the time, but yeah.
I think I have just about taken up all the time that I asked for. But Alvaro, I really feel like I could talk to you for another hour. That you seem like a real thinker, and I feel like we could just maybe I have to have you back on sometime. And so
Yeah, definitely.
But
Next show.
I really appreciate your time today. And so the show that we've been talking about is up at Blum-and-poe in Los Angeles for a while, right?
I think it ends April 30th.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll link to that on the page. I really appreciate how gracious you've been with your time and just being willing to talk about your inspirations and your inputs and how you think. And, I really appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you today.
No, thank you so much. Thank you. It was good to put my words out there. These are just like underlying thoughts that sort of help the show, but I haven't really said it so much
right
out loud. So now saying it out loud, I hope it made sense.
It makes sense.
Thank you so much.
All right. You have a great day on this. That's all the time we have for this week. You've been listening to Art Sense. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. If you've enjoyed this podcast, be sure to subscribe. And while you're there, please rate the show and leave a quick review. Your feedback is the key to other folks finding us. And if you'd like to see images related to the conversation, read the transcript, and find other bonus features, you can go to cambia.art and click on the podcast tab. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can email me at craig@cambia.art. Thanks for listening.